So I got a comment on my recent video about the debate that Edward Ua, I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name correctly, but who offered me a debate at the University of Hawaii Board of Regents meeting on November 6th. And this guy, he's always one to comment on my videos. His name is Ken Hottendorf. So he asked me a few things, and here it is here. I will record it, what he said here in its entirety. And I think he made some good points, so I will respond piece by piece. Somebody also said that I took Edward's words out of context when I took his words from a September 9th speech he gave at DHHL commission meeting. And I actually left the entire speech, and it gave a link in the description of that video to the speech unedited. So anybody who wants to know exactly what he said has access to it, because I recorded everything. I put everything there in his own words, word by word out of his mouth. I didn't edit his words. I didn't rearrange his words. I didn't paraphrase him. I didn't misquote him. I let him speak, and then when he made a point that I wanted to respond to, I responded to it. And then I picked up where he left off, and I played the rest of what he said in order. No rearranging, no paraphrasing, nothing like that. So I just wanted to make that clear. I did not take his words out of context at all. And I did leave a link in the description. I always do. If you have any questions about my sources, the links are in the description. So this Kia, I'm sorry, I have a hard time reading on this little phone. So he says, "Why are you so triggered concerning Native Hawaiian issues?" My response is, let's put it this way. I am a stakeholder. I live here. As I testified in the UHBOR meeting, my kid's school gets funded by the Think Fund, in part, which is partially funded by TMT and other astronomy. Other than that, my tax dollars go to fund DHHL and OHA, so I am a stakeholder in multiple ways. And then he says, "You tirelessly put yourself in the same playing field as Native Hawaiians, as if you wish you had Native Hawaiian blood." Well, it is my home. Hawaii is my home, right? So I say my home is Hawaii, but I don't see race as a separate thing. I meant to say thing, it says think, but I said Native Hawaiian blood is the same as any human blood. There are not different species of human. We are all one species. And then he says, so perhaps you could have gone to Kamehameha schools or have Hawaiian Homestead. I don't blame you. And I said, I believe in the 14th Amendment. I stand opposed to racism. So no, I don't wish for those things. He says, we have a very proud, rich history that many non-natives such as yourself want to be a part of. So I say, I think you will find that other people who want to appropriate your culture are trying to virtue signal by standing against the TMT. So don't put me in that group. I don't stand against the TMT. Astronomy is sacred to me. He says, I find it amusing that you get so involved with it. So I say, I find it amusing that people tend to ignore controversial issues despite that it directly affects them. TMT is not the only cause I am passionate about. Look up my cannabis activism, which I have even changed laws in the USA regarding the freedom of cannabis. That took a ton of work, blood, sweat, and tears. These issues are mild compared to the other battles I have fought. He says, and that's a good thing because that's how you learn about other culture and race other than your own. I said, I have lived in 14 countries on 4 continents. I love learning about other cultures. I just got back from Japan a few months ago. I am constantly seeing the world. I love to learn about other cultures, and I respect other cultures. And in fact, my wife is Native American. She has 4 tribes in her family history: Cherokee, Bannock, Shoshone, and Paiute. So race isn't a thing for me. We're all human. And then he says, to be a non-native of any land must be very disheartening because you have no roots that you can connect with. I said, I realize some people play this whole divide and conquer agenda, trying to separate humans as if they are different species. Sad for those who have to be proud of things that they have no control over. Like, for example, sexual preference. If you have no control over whether you're straight or gay or bi or whatever, How can you be proud of that? You didn't work for that. You didn't accomplish anything. That's something you're born with. Or if you're born white and you're some sort of white supremacist, that makes no sense. You have no control over that. That's something that you were born with. Whatever happened, to make you that way, you didn't earn it. It was given to you without your effort or earning or consent or whatever. You were just born that way. Male, female, whatever. That's not anything you have control over. So to be proud of something that you have no control over is pretty weak in my opinion. I don't respect white supremacists any more than I respect Hawaiian supremacists. If you believe that you're better or that you're privileged or that you deserve certain things because of your race, something you had no control over, I think that's ridiculous. I have no respect for that at all. And then he says, I do applaud you for your efforts, and I hope you continue to post these videos so that you can bring light to Americans who have the same feelings as you. And I said, likewise, I am glad these protests came about so that the rest of the world can see the racism that goes on in Hawaii. It's a good opportunity to educate people. And really it is. I mean, if you look at these things that really are in violation of the 14th Amendment, I mean, that's what the 14th Amendment was created for, was to dispel racism and racial privilege and racial preference. The 14th Amendment really goes against things like OHA and DHHL. If they are specifically to benefit Native Hawaiians, then that is in opposition to the 14th Amendment and is very racist. To give somebody privilege over another person because of their racial ethnicity, that's racism. Really, in every way, that's racism. Kamehameha schools not accepting people who are not Hawaiian, that's racism. So if we're ever going to get rid of racism, we need to make a strong stand against it in every way. Like I said, even with white supremacists, I mentioned that at the DHH or at the UHBOR meeting. And I said, these people in Brexit, they say to the Muslim immigrants or whatever immigrants that are coming into England, they say, hey, we're English. Our family has been here for 15 generations. So get out. You don't belong here. That's the same thing as Hawaiians. A lot of these protesters are saying to so-called haoles. They're like, oh, we've been here for 10 generations or whatever. Whenever the Tahitians came and conquered the Southeast Asians that were originally here, they'll say, oh, all these generations we've been here. And so we belong here and you don't. So get out. I mean, that's the same thing as what's going on in England with Brexit, right? And other parts of the world where people are like, hey, we belong here and you don't. I mean, humans are humans. It's ridiculous to try to separate yourself based on color. And really, that's all it is. If you look at why we are different colors or, why we have different eyes or why we have different hair, it's just based on melanin. When people are in colder areas and there's less sunshine, they lack vitamin D and it, changes the color of their skin so they can absorb more sunlight. And people that live in sunnier areas turn darker, so that they reflect the sunlight. And it's just a matter of, geography. It doesn't have anything to do with a species. We're not different in that we're a different species. Because if we were a different species, certainly we couldn't have kids together. I mean, humans are the same species. They say that our origin is from Africa. So in some, small way, if we go back far enough, and it's all about genealogy for a lot of these people, about what they're proud of and such. If we go far enough back, we're all Africans, right? Anyway, I think that's what the matter is. But regardless of that, my tax dollars go to fund DHHL and OHA and other, racial privilege agencies of the government. And if I'm a taxpayer and my taxes go to fund these things, then I'm also a stakeholder. So I have a say. I should have a say.